ISIS continues in their efforts to recruit sympathizers through social media, through the internet, and to recruit these sympathizers either to travel to Syria and to join ISIS and to fight there, or they encourage them to commit acts of violence in their home country. And so I think that this sends a strong message against anybody who might consider acting that way.
A guilty verdict in a terror trial of a Toronto woman who largely refused to participate in her own court case after admitting she had acted in the name of ISIS. Rehab Dugmosh could now face up to 14 years in prison after a 2017 attack inside a Canadian Tire.
This was an unusual prosecution and an unusual litigation in the sense that Ms. Dugmosh she chose not to retain counsel, and she did not participate to the same extent as accused often participate. So that raised novel issues, or not novel issues, but that raised some challenges for the Crown and the court.
Despite those challenges, Crown Prosecutor Jason Wakely says he's pleased with the outcome and believes 34-year-old Rehab Dugmosh received a fair trial. It took jurors just 1 hour to find her guilty of 2 counts of assault with a weapon, 1 count of carrying a weapon, and 1 count of leaving Canada for the purpose of committing a criminal offense. Dugmosh originally faced 21 charges after a 2017 incident inside this Canadian Tire in Toronto's East End. Just after 5 p.m. on June 3rd, she charged at a group of employees with a golf club from inside the store and pulled out a butcher knife she'd hidden under her clothing. Wakely told the panel of jurors in his closing statement, she literally declared the words, "This is for ISIS." She draped herself in an ISIS banner, and she wrapped an ISIS bandana around her head, and she repeatedly said words to the effect that she did this for ISIS. Dugmosh waived her right to legal counsel, instead representing herself in court, but she did not enter a guilty plea or a defense and declined to make any closing statements to the jury. Instead, the only evidence presented to the court was an agreed-upon statement of facts, an unusual move for a jury trial.
It was in the interests of justice that we proceed this way because there was no dispute about the facts. And so to have to call 50 witnesses or 60 witnesses and occupy the courts and the jury and the administration of justice for weeks and weeks at a time was unnecessary.
The statement read in court Wednesday said Dugmosh admitted she had planned the attack a year after a failed attempt to join ISIS in Syria. On the day of the attack, Dugmosh had packed a number of other makeshift weapons in bags, but was nearly thwarted by her husband, who she'd been separated from for months. When he saw her in their building's lobby, he confiscated her bags. In the end, no one was seriously hurt in the incident, something Dugmosh told police she was disappointed about. She said she wanted to hurt people and make them feel fear, but not kill them. She wanted news of her own attack to be published. She believed ISIL would be happy with what she had done. Dugmosh's brother had reported his sister to the RCMP back in 2016 when she tried to leave for Syria. She was intercepted in Istanbul and sent back to Canada. No charges were ever laid.
Hindsight is 20/20. So with the benefit of hindsight, one might ask, should they have done more? But no, I think they conducted a reasonable investigation at the time. Their assessment not to lay charges was reasonable at the time. You can only act on what you know, and they couldn't have known then what we know now.
And Dugmosh will return to court Monday for sentencing. Lawyers are expected to make submissions on whether she should undergo a mental health assessment to help determine the appropriate sentence.